season's going, and I'll just ramble about other baseball-related things, like games I've been to, whatnot. But yeah, it's about 42, 43 games in for most teams, maybe a little more, a little less, depending. Interesting season so far. The Rays started off like 13-0. I think they have like 11 or 12 losses now, but they're still 30-plus wins. The whole AL East is over 500. I think the Yankees are in last place, but they're like 3 or 4 games over. Baltimore's doing pretty well. Boston started out slow, and now they're doing well. Toronto, they're all over 500. That's definitely the strongest division in the league right now. The Twins lead them. Was it the Central? Not by much, but that division's kind of weak. Who's in that division? Kansas City, Chicago, Minnesota, the other in first place, Detroit, right? There's got to be one other team in there. Cleveland. I kind of forget sometimes. I'm not like super up to date. Like I know kind of who's in first and stuff, but I'm not actually familiar with a ton of the players. The Rangers are in first in the West. Angels are doing all right. Houston start off slow. They're doing better. They'll obviously be there. Obviously, Oakland is doing real bad, and they're going to move to Vegas, I believe, right? I guess the owner bought land in Vegas. The funny thing is, Tampa has like a $30 million payroll, maybe less, and they're in first. Oakland does not have a high payroll, and they are not in first. I think with Tampa, I'm not sure for certain, but I think a lot of their younger players, like Wander Franco and stuff, some of these younger players, they get them, they end up turning out well, and they have a run where they do well, and it depends on if they want to sign them or not. When it comes time for them to get new contracts, the Rangers in first, they got DeGrom in the offseason. I think I don't know if he's still out, but that was the thing, I know, because I kind of follow the Mets more now because two people at work, my friend, so I work with Met fans. I'm like, hey, I'll follow them. I've never hated the Mets. I always kind of liked the Mets, but I was a Yankee fan. Then I tuned out of baseball. Like, I stopped giving a shit about the Yankees for a few reasons. And this was like back when they were they've always been good. But like in 09 when they played Philly, I just didn't care. I was like, whatever. I don't know. I kind of just wanted to kind of be into baseball, not focus on a team. After a while, I don't know, I just lost interest. I was never like overly into baseball. I liked it, and I liked certain players, but I never got like crazy about baseball like I did with football and basketball, and even hockey for a bit too. But the Islanders weren't, the Islanders were bad for a bit, so you couldn't get too invested because there's nothing to cheer for. But I know DeGrom signed with Texas, but I think he missed a little bit of time. I don't know if he's still out, but that's how it is with that dude. He's been getting banged up the past probably 3 or 4 years. It seems to be like a lot with pitchers these days. There's always like, they had it with Verlander didn't miss like the first 3 weeks of the season. It's always like they're on the mound. They throw a pitch and they like flinch and grab their side, and you're like, oh, it's just a little strain. 2 months later, they got, like they disappear. But yeah, the Mets are not doing that great. They were 14-7, and then they started shitting the bed, and they struggled with bad teams like the Nationals and stuff, beating them up. I think they beat them to this. I'm putting this up Tuesday. I'm filming it Monday night. I think they beat them again today. I think they're a game or two under 500, and they were 14-7. I think they're like maybe 19-21 or 20-22. So they're like 6-15 or something. They are not playing well. They lost Diaz for the year. Their closer. He got hurt during the World Baseball Classic, but he hasn't even been really needed. They're like actually winning tighter games, but then they don't score at all. Their pitching has not been that good. They lost to one guy. It was like Quintana. I don't know how to say his last name. They got him from the Cardinals, I believe, but he was gone from the beginning of the year. The Braves are in the first there, and everybody else is kind of, I think, under 500 or at 500. The Braves could end up running away with that division for sure. And the Pirates are not in first anymore. The Pirates started off real hot, and now they've been worse than the Mets recently. I feel like they've only won like 2 of the last 15. Milwaukee's in first there. Who else is in there? St. Louis, Chicago, Cubs, and Cincinnati. And then in the West, the Dodgers are bad. The Dodgers were a little. It's just baseball. You gotta wait for 40 to 60 games to really get a feel for teams what they're doing. Because the Dodgers start off a bit slow. Now they're in first. Padres, I think, are coming around as well. I don't know. I think San Francisco's under 500, right? I don't know. And the Rockies are. I don't know how Arizona's doing. But that's how baseball is. You gotta wait, It's like 30 games in baseball. It's like the equivalent of like one football game. Maybe not 30. It's probably like maybe about every 10 games is equivalent to a football game. A little less now. It's 17 game season in football. But if you start, 10 and 15, 10 and 18, you're not screwed. I think once you get to that 50, 60 game mark and you're like maybe 30 and 35, 30 and 37, you got to start to concern yourself, It's been a pretty good season. I don't really know who's doing well and who isn't. To be honest with you, like I said, I don't know a ton of the players these days. Outside of, I know Yankee players, I know Met players. I know some guys, like I said, Wander Franco before, and, guys like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Ohtani, Carlos Correa. There's names I know, but I'm not like, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Dante Bichette. Is he Dante Bichette Jr. too? I know they're both on Toronto. I need to get more into knowing the guys, because I used to know. That was the thing. Even when I was like, I would follow baseball and be into it, either when I was really into the Yankees or I was just kind of enjoying the game and not really following anybody. But I always knew the players back in the day. And I'm not even talking like 90s and 80s. I'm talking like, 2000s. I remember, Bonds and freaking Pujols, Beltray, Luis Gonzalez. Guys like Sammy Sosa and stuff. McGuire was gone kind of by then, but and all the Yankees back then as well. Jeter and Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, Pettit, Clemens, etc. And the original Vlad Guerrero. I knew more players than that. I was just doing this, like David Wright on the Mets and stuff. Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez. David Ortiz, all these guys. But I knew, like, back in the 90s and stuff, in the 80s, when I was a kid in the 80s and then teenage in the 90s, like, those guys I don't know, and I was collecting the cards a lot back then. I used to go to, I'm pretty sure my uncle brought me to a Met Astros playoff game in the 86 playoffs when they play in the NLCS. I would have been, I was 86. At that time, I would have been 7. And I had gone to Met games when I was a kid, and then I started to go to more Yankee games when I got a little older. I went to a lot of Yankee games back then. It's like right before. The Yankees were still good. Like the Yankees in 94 in the strike season, they were good. And in 93, I think they had a winning record, but they weren't there yet. And then 95, I went to the playoff game against the Mariners. I went 15 innings. They ended up losing that series. They were up 2-0 and they lost 3-2, but they won that game 15 innings. That was exciting. And then I went to some games after that and a few Met games as well. I haven't been to a Yankee game, a baseball game in general, since I think it was 2015 at the newer Yankee Stadium. I've been to, I did go to a game at the Sky Dome back in 94. Went to Canada, Toronto versus Cleveland. We were like second to last row in the stadium. Cool stadium though, but we were all the way nosebleeds. I'm pretty sure Toronto won that game. I think it was Toronto. At that point, Cleveland would have Jim Tomei. I think Manny Ramirez was probably on them earlier in his career. He had to have been on Cleveland at that time. Do they still have Carlos Baerga? I'm trying to remember the dudes. I don't know if Jim Carter probably was still on the. No, Roberto Alomar, Jim Carter. Wait, is Jim Carter? No, Joe Carter. Joe Carter. I'm getting names confused. Jim Tomei. Joe Carter. I don't know if like Paul Molitor and stuff were on there. John Olerud. I can't remember fully. I know it would have. Wow. No, wait. Yeah, that would have been 94. So that we went to that game probably maybe a few weeks before the strike actually went in, because I think the strike started in like August, right? Like late August, and we would have went there in maybe early August. Yeah, because I started 10th grade, and it was 94, 95 was 10th grade, 94 was the strike season, right? Wow, I didn't realize that. Because the Blue Jays would have been coming off the back-to-back titles in 92, 93. Those Blue Jays teams are freaking loaded, man. Holy crap. But I like a lot of uniforms too. Like baseball always had like the Royals uniform was cool. The Expos had such a cool logo and uniform. Back then, Toronto, the Yankees, so many teams have cool uniforms and logos. And baseball, I think more so than the other sports. The other sports have really cool logos as well. Some don't, but a lot of baseball teams have really cool logos and uniforms. I played Little League baseball up until 8th grade. That was always kind of fun. I would like go from being really good, I'd like make tournament team, and then like the next year I'd be like kind of okay. Then I'd get good, then I'd like be bad for some reason, then good again. It's very strange. I was always good in the field. I will say that. Like, I used to love playing the outfield. And I would, like, throw my body around like crazy. I remember in the one tournament year, I was, like, jumping out. I remember I dove for one in center field, and I caught it, but I jumped in the air and hit the ground hard. And I didn't have my glove close all the way, and the ball rolled out. I remember making another catch that game. I was playing that inning. I think I was playing, I would have been left field. And someone hit a foul ball that I ran and caught and rolled twice. But even like when I was like 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, like I was in the outfield, like making catches that typically weren't being made. I always loved it. I love the field. The outfield especially, because I love running around. You have more space to move. But I remember playing, shortstop, second base. You would go all over the place. I played catcher maybe like once. That I did not like. And I pitched once, and I did not like that either. I was not good. But fielding was always kind of fun. Sometimes I was stupid because I wouldn't call the ball sometimes. I remember colliding with somebody. I was in center and they would have been in left. Oh wait, they were in right field maybe. But they didn't call it either. But it's kind of one of those things. Sometimes I would call, but other times I would just get so invested in just catching that I wasn't paying attention. Because that's the thing, I loved it. Like, I wanted to cover as much ground as possible, And center field, when you're in center field, you kind of have, like, authority over the other outfielders, even infielders to an extent. But if it's a short or shallow or a fly ball into the outfield. But it was fun back then. I just stopped. Like I said, my anxiety caused a problem a lot. Like, I would just get really nervous a lot and stuff. And I just, at that time, I was like, even when I was doing well, I would still just, But like I said, I used to collect the cards a ton. I threw out so many of those, which is just stupid in general. Like, they're not even worth anything. Like the 88 tops. I still have some of them. I've shown them in videos. Like the Barry Bonds rookies, McGuire rookies, Clemens, guys like that. Wade Boggs, I believe I have. But now I have guys like Pedro Martinez as well. I think I have a Manny Ramirez rookie. I have a Griffey rookie, but not the Upper Deck one. Griffey Jr. He was my favorite player for a bit. I loved him. But I threw a lot of them out, which is just stupid. It was a lot of like, I had some 83 cards. Like I think Boggs was 83, but it was like 85 is I guess what my mom or dad were getting. cards. It was like, I had a lot of 85s, 86, 87. I remember 87 tops specifically with like the wood kind of borders. Nice looking cards. 88 kind of sucked. They just had like the name across the top and like tops and a little banner thing. 89 was a little better. I can't remember what 90 was. I had some Donruss as well and Fleer. And then I started to get like Fleer Ultra. The Fleer, I think I did an unboxing actually. I got the older box of Fleer Ultra. I did an unboxing of some of those. Love that. I love the look of those cards. And that was across all the sports. Fleer Ultra used to have one. I had Leaf baseball as well. I have a Sammy Sosa Leaf rookie. I think I have a couple other guys too, like Deion Sanders and stuff. But in like the mid-90s, I stopped kind of collecting. I would still sporadically buy packs, but I wasn't super into it anymore. I always try to, like I said, I've done some videos of the hockey cards and stuff. I always try to get back into it. Last year, I got the Topps opening day box. I think I probably did opening some of those too. I never get fully into it because it's expensive. It's an expensive hobby now. It was not. Back then, it wasn't as expensive. And Upper Deck, obviously, I got of baseball. You can actually get some. I might pick a box of older Upper Deck baseball because like 90, 91, 90, maybe not 90. One or two of those years are not that expensive. In reality, even if you get a box of those now for 50, 60 bucks, you're still getting a deal because they gave you 24 packs. You're getting like at least 12 cards a pack. You got hooked up back then. The sets were a bit bigger, but you would get your money's worth. It was funny, me and my friend used to get the hockey Fleer Ultra. I think it was 92, 93. That was Solani's rookie year, I believe. It was 92, 93. And we would always know when we were going to get the Solani because the cards went in a certain order. There was a Sylvain Cote was one of the guys. There was somebody else. I forget who it was. And then it was Solani. Like you knew once you saw the Cote because these cards, I guess, were packed in an order, a certain order. I know Malikov and Kasparaitis, Vladimir Malikov and Darius Kasparaitis were in that one too. But yeah, I always enjoyed playing baseball, and then occasionally, you'd screw around, just go to the field randomly and hit fly balls. If you're going with a couple of friends, you hit fly balls to each other and stuff. Also, my friends started to play some softball, but I was never really into that. I was never really into just it was hard to pick up baseball games. It was always playing basketball or football you'd be able to do. But it was fun. Like I said, I went to a bunch of games back then. I've gone to a few Long Island Ducks games too. Out on Long Island, obviously. They're very close to where I am now. I've gone to 2 or 3 of those games. It's kind of fun. And sometimes major leaguers end up on that team. I think El Duque was on that team. Orlando Hernandez. Maybe it wasn't him. Somebody popped on there. There's 1 or 2 pros that were on there for a little bit. They get older and they can still excel in these lower kind of leagues, these random leagues. Because the Ducks are in a league with maybe 8 other teams. I don't know. It's very regional, I believe. Like Connecticut, Jersey, maybe Pennsylvania, maybe as far down as Virginia. It's still cool though to go, It's fun to watch. I used to go sometimes. I watched a few Kansas City Royals preseason games in Florida because at the time they did preseason at this place called Boardwalk and Baseball is where their spring training, spring training. They held it there and it was in, I think it was Haines City, Florida, but it wasn't too far from where we would be. And we'd go to Boardwalk and Baseball and sometimes they would have it. But the Boardwalk and Baseball was it was like an Adventureland. If you're along Long Island, you're going to know Adventureland. They made a movie about it. But those kind of amusement parks, not big, huge ones like a Universal Studios or Disney World or Six Flags. It's a smaller kind of park, but it was like that. It had some rides, some show. They do a show here and stuff. There's other stuff, and they had the baseball stuff. There's batting cages there as well, I believe. But I think we went to 1 or 2 Royals preseason. I keep saying spring training. Baseball at spring training. I think it might have been the Dodgers that used to be in Vero Beach, which wasn't that far from where we were either. baseball's always like fun to follow. I like following stats. That's why I go on, like, a lot of you might have done this if you're into sports. I go to the reference sites, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and I just love looking at old seasons and stuff and seeing how the playoffs played out and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. And I love baseball. Didn't have, in baseball, you gotta remember, back in the day, I think further back, other teams would make it. Maybe they had 4 teams, because there was some times where there was 4 teams, I believe. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe the NL and ALCS were only best of 5. But for a while, it was just when your division, it was 2 teams made the playoffs in each league. So this happened with the Braves, and this might have been the reason they brought the wild card in with the Braves and the Giants. It was 1 year. It might have been 95. It might have been 93, actually. I think it might have been the first year Bonds was on. Was Bonds' first year 93 on the Giants? The wild card was 95, so it definitely was. It had to be 93 because 94 is a strike. But the Braves had like 105 wins or something, and the Giants had 104, and the Giants missed the playoffs. Like, you're like, what? How can you say that season was a failure when you had 104 wins? You know. And now they're adding in extra stuff. Now you do this little thing. Maybe they should just go like the other sports and have 8 teams in each thing, right? Or how do they do it now? 2 teams do get a bye, right? So there is 6 teams now. Yes, because 2 teams get the bye, right? And then the other 4 teams play each other in a best of 3 now. Is that how it goes? Basketball too, they're changing up their format of playoffs, and I can't keep up sometimes. Yeah, like I said, I don't know a ton of players anymore. I gotta look through the cards I got from last year and get to know some of these players more. But yeah, it's early in the season still, though. 40-something games in. Another 20, you're gonna start to see how teams are. But yeah, that's just a request here. Baseball ramble, kind of on the current season, and then just talking about some random baseball stuff I've been involved with, or my history with stuff. And yeah, thanks for checking this out. And